This is the story of Ulysses Jr. Bridgman, the NBA role player who became a billionaire. A guy who never made an all-star team, never landed a shoe deal, and never earned more than $350,000 in a season, yet died one of the richest athletes who ever lived. By February of 2025, Forbes put his net worth at $1.4 billion. That's Michael Jordan money. That's Magic Johnson money. The difference is that Jordan and Magic built their fortunes on global fame, and Bridgman built his behind the counter of a Wendy's. Literally behind the counter. Picture South Milwaukee in 1988, where a woman steps up to a Wendy's counter, and the tall guy sliding her tray across looks familiar. NBA player. A few days later, she calls a radio station to complain that these players make all that money. Then the second their careers end, they're back to flipping burgers. Bridgman heard it himself, live, on his car radio, and that's when it clicked that she was talking about him. He wasn't working that counter because he was broke. He owned the place, owned a bunch of them across the city, and that one misunderstanding tells you everything, because his wealth was invisible to the people standing 2 feet in front of him. East Chicago, Indiana in the 1950s was a city built on steel and sweat. Ulysses Bridgman Sr. worked 40 years at the mill, then cleaned tavern floors and washed store windows at night. His wife, Dolores, kept the home running. For the Bridgmans, every dollar had a job. When Junior wanted to join Boy Scout Troop 2, the fee was just $1.25. The family didn't have it. That number stuck with him, not as a symbol of poverty, but as a lesson in limits. If it wasn't in the budget, it didn't happen. Junior carried that memory to Louisville, where a basketball scholarship covered tuition but not the summers. He cut steel for a farm equipment company and worked the graveyard shift at the Ford truck plant. Midnight to 7, clocking out just in time for morning basketball practice. The city, the work, the family math, all of it shaped the way he handled money, long before anyone handed him a pro contract or a business plan. The 1975 NBA draft called Junior Bridgman's name at number 8, but he never put on a Lakers jersey. His rights went straight to Milwaukee as part of the deal that sent Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to Los Angeles, a footnote in a blockbuster trade, not a franchise cornerstone. Over 12 seasons, Bridgman became the kind of player every coach wanted off the bench. Steady, sharp, always ready. There was no all-star weekend, no shoe deal waiting in the locker. His best season paid $350,000. When the first check finally landed after taxes and agent fees, it came out to about $55,000, enough to last 5 months if every dollar stretched. His attorney's advice was simple. Don't spend too much. But no warning could change the math. The money was real, but it was never going to last forever. For a sixth man in the late 70s, the league paid well, but it didn't secure a future. Not on its own. In 1978, Junior Bridgman sat across from Wayne Embry at a McDonald's in Milwaukee. Embry, the Bucks' general manager, didn't just talk basketball. He talked ownership. Bridgman noticed something different. Everyone in that restaurant worked for Embry, not the other way around. That moment shifted his focus. He set a personal goal. Save $1 million before retirement, not for show, but for security. The lesson was clear. Players earned paychecks, but owners wrote them. Opportunity came quietly. Jim Fitzgerald, then the Bucks' owner, offered Bridgman a chance to buy into a local cable company. The buy-in was steep. $150,000 spread over several years. A risk for someone used to counting every dollar. But when the company sold, Bridgman's share came back sevenfold. $700,000. It wasn't flashy, but it was proof. Ownership meant leverage, and leverage meant freedom. The path forward was no longer about how much he could earn, but about what he could own. Retirement in 1987 brought Bridgman a crossroads, but not the one most players dream about. The Bucks offered him a spot as assistant general manager, a safe move, a steady salary, a front row seat to someone else's decisions. He turned it down. Instead, he joined forces with Paul Silas, another NBA veteran, and put real money, about $150,000 between them, into a Wendy's in Brooklyn. Neither man had ever run a restaurant. Within months, the losses piled up. The math was simple and brutal. They didn't know the business, and the business didn't forgive ignorance. At first, Wendy's closed its doors, taking their investment with it. Most people would have walked away. Bridgman did the opposite. He signed up for Wendy's corporate training, spent months learning every detail. Supply orders, payroll, fryer repair, opening and closing routines. He studied what made a store work, determined not to repeat the same mistakes with someone else's playbook. In 1988, Junior Bridgman signed the paperwork for 5 Wendy's stores in Milwaukee. The deal cost about $750,000, nearly every dollar he'd managed to save from 12 years in the NBA. The numbers on the page were stark. Each store pulled in about $600,000 a year, barely enough to keep the lights on. Within 2 years, those same stores were clearing $2 million apiece. The secret wasn't a marketing blitz or a celebrity endorsement. It was Bridgman himself working the line. Sidney Moncrief, a former teammate, would walk in and see him flipping burgers, scrubbing the fryers, and mopping up after closing. Bridgman wrote every check by hand, payroll, produce, rent, so he could feel the money leaving. So every expense registered as real. He wanted to know where every penny went, and he wanted his staff to see that the owner wasn't above the work. The formula scaled. He picked up 16 more locations, then expanded into Madison, Louisville, Nashville, Florida. Chili's came next, then a wave of new franchises. The numbers snowballed. More than 450 restaurants, over $500 million in annual revenue. By 2016, Bridgman sold most of the empire for an estimated $250 million, trading day-to-day operations for the next big move. But the habits never changed. Ownership for him always started behind the counter, not above it. In February 2017, Bridgman signed the papers for Heartland Coca-Cola Bottling, taking charge of a territory that stretched across Kansas, Missouri, and southern Illinois. The business wasn't a single storefront or a handful of franchises. This was a bottling empire, supplying more than 25,000 customers and generating over $530 million in annual revenue, all under Bridgman's ownership. 1 year later, he joined forces with Larry Tannenbaum to acquire Coca-Cola Canada Bottling, pushing his reach beyond the Midwest and into a new country. But Bridgman's ambitions didn't stop at beverages. In December 2020, he was the sole bidder in a bankruptcy auction for Ebony and Jet, 2 magazines that had chronicled Black achievement since 1945 and 1951. The price, $14 million. Bridgman didn't buy them for nostalgia. He handed the magazines to his daughter Eden for her birthday, a gift meant to outlast any business cycle, a legacy built not just on profit, but on culture and family. September 2024 brought Junior Bridgman back to Milwaukee in a way no one could have predicted. He bought a 10% stake in the Bucks, the same franchise that once received him as the quiet piece in a blockbuster trade. The team's valuation hovered near $4 billion, but Bridgman's deal came with a 15% discount, an implied price around $340 million. His number 2 jersey, retired since 1988, already hung in the rafters. But Bridgman's influence stretched beyond banners and boardrooms. In 1987, he led players as association president and filed a federal antitrust lawsuit, Bridgman versus NBA, that challenged the league's control over salaries and movement. The settlement that followed helped open the door to unrestricted free agency, changing the economics of the sport for every player who came after. Most athletes who cash their first big check feel untouchable, but the numbers tell a different story. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a legend on the court, lost $59 million to a crooked advisor. Vin Baker earned over $100 million, then wound up pouring coffee behind a Starbucks counter. Allen Iverson made more than $200 million, and later admitted he couldn't afford a cheeseburger. In a 2021 report, EY counted nearly $600 million lost to fraud and bad deals by pro athletes in just 15 years. Bridgman warned that the moment you believe you can't possibly spend it all, is when you're in the most danger. Charles Barkley calls his journey a lesson every young player should study. Isaiah Thomas goes further. He says Bridgman is the real success story, the quiet proof that discipline outlasts fame. Today, a $1.25 Boy Scouts fee still blocks some dreams, but Bridgman's legacy proves the real gatekeeper is vision, not circumstance. In a world obsessed with celebrity, it's the quiet, patient builders who quietly rewrite the rules of wealth. Sometimes the billionaire is the man behind the counter. Subscribe for more unexpected stories.